Hello, welcome to Rappler Talk. I'm Marites Vitug, and joining us is Kavi Chongkittavorn, a veteran journalist. He's also a senior fellow at the Institute of Security and International Studies at Chulalongkorn University in Thailand. We will be talking to Kavi about the secrets to Thailand's success in containing the virus and the vaccination strategy and plans of our neighbor Thailand. Thank you, Kavi, for making time for this interview. I know you've been watching ASEAN, but now let's focus first on Thailand and then go to the big picture of ASEAN. So
Okay.
you can you can I can't seem to hear you, Kavi.
Well, good morning, Marites from Bangkok. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yes, we're clear now. Okay, so Kavi, you wrote about the secrets to Thailand's relative success in containing the virus. What are the most outstanding of the secrets that we can learn from?
Well, I think Thailand has a very good public health security for the past 30 years. This kind of thing does not happen overnight. So we have a group so-called public health volunteers all over countries, about 1,040,000 volunteers. Each of them receive very small amount of money each month, around less than actually $20, but they are very happy to perform the job. So they help in the earlier days in sort of tracking whoever has that kind of contagious disease. So that has been one of the most effective ways for tracking. So that helps explain why a year ago, actually this week when we have the first case of virus, we were able to contain it right away. And then a few weeks later, we have a big spreader because Thai people love to go and watch boxing. So boxing was a kind of a big spreader because there's no effective means to control the virus. So it happened. And now recently, just 4 weeks ago, we had another so-called second wave of contagious virus because of the so-called central wet market in Samut Prakan, where there are a lot of migrant workers. So these are the issue. So tracking has been quite effective. Now we employ the so-called universal testing. We test those who felt that they have the disease or contact the disease. But now we try to reach out and become more proactive. So we discover more case. Now Thailand effective case now reach about 1,000 after stabilizing for the whole year at around 500 to 600.
Is your testing free? Do you
Yes,
pay?
yes, yes.
It's
Yes.
free.
All free in the state hospitals. That's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. But the second wave, is it being contained now? Because according to reports, these are from migrant communities.
Yes, migrant communities mainly. I think now the government has set up fields hospital and put on the most of the worker on test. So it has been very effective. And actually, beginning today, some of the public swimming pool, fitness have been open already. So it shows you that the situation has been under control.
We envy you, Kavi, because I remember you had several months wherein there was no single community transmission.
That's correct. For 7 months, yes, that's right.
7 months. So you were able to travel within Thailand and go to restaurants,
That's right.
movie houses. So now, because the government was able to handle this quite well, do the people feel the need to vaccinate themselves, to be vaccinated?
That's very interesting question. I think that you have people who wants to get the jab, and you have the people who are not so sure, and then you have the people said, "Oh, it's okay, because we don't need the herd community." So Thailand, actually, I would say to you that before the second wave, Thailand has been quite confident that the government would be able to control effectively the spread of virus. So there's no talk much about the vaccination. But now there's a lot more talk amongst the social media that maybe, we need to vaccinate because you cannot rely on the government anymore. That kind of feeling did come out. But I think most of the time pin the hope on the ability of the local manufacturer of vaccine. Thailand has been chosen by AstraZeneca to be one of the major regional producer later on, maybe in mid-May. At the moment, we are producing for AstraZeneca, but it's not for use in Thailand. It's for export to other countries that are under or order from AstraZeneca.
Oh, so Thailand is currently producing AstraZeneca, but only for export.
But it's not for inside use.
Oh.
15th of December. So now we also try to encourage the local vaccine. We have several labs, mainly belong to Chulalongkorn University, Mahidol University. They are trying to produce their own. So that's why most of the Thai sort of have a lax attitude towards vaccination. And the government also try to provide some sense of security, saying that we can get sufficient dose for all the population from all various foreign sources, from China, from UK, from America, from Russia. So I think that's another guarantees.
So I read in the reports that Thailand will start vaccinating its people in February next month. So that is sure, and you will be using, I think, Sinovac or AstraZeneca.
Yeah, I think they will use Sinovac because AstraZeneca will come in later, and I think they will start next month with, of course, with the those who are in the list group, those frontline workers and senior citizens.
How about has is there a controversy over Sinovac in Thailand? Because here in the Philippines, there's a lot of controversy because there are different efficacy rates, different in Brazil, in Turkey, and so you don't have this kind of distrust for Chinese vaccine or Sinovac.
I think we have not yet reached that level. I think when we have a massive vaccination, maybe beginning next month, maybe we will have some public reaction. I think the attitude towards Sinovac is also reflects the attitude of the country toward the overall attitude toward China. For me, from my point of view, I'm have no doubt that Filipinos in general will have some reservations about the Chinese vaccine in comparison with other import vaccine.
So again, going back to this vaccine, I read an article that was critical of government, saying it was slow in moving. But if you're having Sinovac already next month, so I think we're just in the same situation. The Philippines will start, I think, receiving Sinovac in February. So it's not slow, is it?
No, I don't think so, because there are a lot of criticism of what the government has done. Even we have received a lot of praises from international communities on organization. The WHO has applauded Thailand for its effort, but local criticism is quite common. They want the government to perform better, faster. So it's always a half-filled bottle.
So Thailand has had pharmaceutical manufacturing industry for many years, because here we are not taking that path. We are not manufacturing the vaccines.
Yeah, we receive several licenses from foreign countries. But of course, the country that is the most well-known is India.
Yes.
Is the world pharmaceutical stores. But in Thailand, we have that capacity. That is why AstraZeneca select Thailand. There has been some criticism why, we have to produce license under AstraZeneca. No, I think AstraZeneca picked Thailand and picked certain company so that they would give license to produce the vaccine.
Is there any other news report? Is there any other vaccine or pharmaceutical company that will produce other vaccines in Thailand so far?
I think only the AstraZeneca that has been announced and signed the MOU between really official. I
So,
don't think other has done yet.
so Kavi, what are your thoughts about vaccine tourism? Because in the US, uh, they try to go to states which apparently have excess vaccines. Do you think this is a viable option in Southeast Asia? Let's say, can Filipinos go to Singapore and have themselves vaccinated, or even to Thailand? Because there's discussion already in Thailand about eventually doing this.
Well, I think it could be one of the options. It could be a package, just like you come to Thailand to play golf, to enjoy the spa, eating durians, enjoy street food. So it's similar things. So actually, talking about medicine, a lot of foreigners come to Thailand to get AIDS treatments, that sort of thing. So Thailand is pretty free on that. So I would not surprise that if vaccine tourism become a reality, especially Thailand, we need tourists. We suffer a lot in the past 1 year.
So, Kavi, you've been watching ASEAN. Is ASEAN doing something to help its member countries gain access to vaccines?
Wow, this is a very good question. I think ASEAN has tried very hard. At the moment, each individual country try to make sure that their citizens are safe, that they get the doses each country wants. Now there is ongoing discussion among ASEAN under the chairmanship of Brunei to take some money from the ASEAN COVID Response Fund. I can tell you that up until today, ASEAN COVID-19 Response Fund has a total of $13.5 million. So there's some discussion that we should get this money to buy vaccine for the purpose of ASEAN. I think it's a good idea. So you will hear that when ASEAN leader met and the foreign minister met when the decision is being made. So ASEAN is trying very hard on vaccine, but there are other programs. For example, various framework. One of the most important, apart from the rescue fund, is the comprehensive economic recovery framework. So I think this will benefit all member countries.
So, you think Brunei, as the new leader of ASEAN, is up to this? It's, as you wrote, it's as the smallest country in ASEAN. It will take over at a very difficult time. So it's up to, will be it be able to rise to the challenge?
Yes, I think Brunei is a very unique country. Since it joined ASEAN in 1984, it has been a royal member, caused no problem, only supported of ASEAN, support the youth, peace, prosperity, you can name it. So COVID-19 is really a tantamount task for such a small country, but I think they will be able to deliver, judging from the program that they try, for example, the 10 priority identified by the government, all related to COVID-19 and economic recovery. And one unique thing that will come up with under Brunei chairman, that for the first time, ASEAN to try to promote the youth role in the future, especially those related to peace and security. So I think it leaves to Brunei, small country without the big power syndrome, you see. Brunei can do that, have that kind of brinkmanship. And moreover, I have to say, Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah has the kind of aura as the longest reign head of state in the region. People, we respect seniority. So I think when Brunei doing something, people kind of respect. There's no hungadori, you see, I think.
Is there a particular country in ASEAN that is taking, like, it's like the champion of access to vaccines? Like, is there one country, or are all the leaders pushing for this?
Well, at the moment, you have to rely on the ASEAN chair. As I told you that they try to take part of the money from ASEAN Rescue Fund to buy the vaccine. So you need the leadership of the chairman and also officer who work in the health department to do that. But certain country that you mentioned that want to promote vaccine as a public common goods, I think Thailand has done pretty well. Our prime minister has been promoting and also have donate money. Thailand was the first one to donate $100,000 to the rescue fund. Now Singapore has done it. Philippines also has done it too. Yeah, the latest country, very big news for us. So we have that kind of camaraderie among ASEAN that, hey, listen, you know, to fight the COVID-19, we have to do it together.
So you mean ASEAN governments can use these funds for their own countries, or it has to be for all ASEAN, like the rescue fund?
Yeah, the rescue fund is for every country in ASEAN. So you have to come up with a project. So far, we still waiting, you know, the ASEAN secretary is still waiting. But the idea come from the chair that maybe we can get this money first when there's no project to obtain the vaccine. You know that WHO have the COVAX program to
Yes.
reasonable price vaccine available to developing country. That is good. And it's also good news that US has joined COVAX, you know, 2 days ago. So it's good for us.
Yeah, so that's apart from COVAX, it will be good for the region to also have ASEAN moving to help the countries. But someone said, I interviewed I forgot who, and he said that I think it's faster for Southeast Asian countries to do bilateral negotiations with pharmaceutical companies. Do you agree, or?
Well, that I think has been done already on a bilateral basis. I think you need to have a sort of a common approach as well, being ASEAN. I think ASEAN would love to do that. But at the moment, as you correctly point out, each country has the priority. They contact pharmaceutical company to make sure bilaterally they can get hold of sufficient vaccine. You know, the Philippines, Singapore was first to get it, now Thailand. So I think when each country has sufficient stock or they have done enough, now they can think of the collective ASEAN community as a whole. But they already think the community as a whole on the long-term comprehensive recovery project. You know, the vaccine is a kind of short-term thing, you see. Citizen of each country want the government to have the vaccine first, no matter what. And it's very complicated because you cannot just get any vaccine you want because you have problem of test efficacy, as you just mentioned, of Sinovac, of other as well.
You know, I just read from a wire report that two big private hospitals in Thailand have ordered vaccines. This is the first time that I've learned that private entities can order directly from pharmaceutical companies. Here in the Philippines, they all pass through the government.
While Thailand does not have that kind of restriction, as you know, international health service in Thailand is very well known. So all the big international hospital try to get hold of vaccine because there will be a large tourist or foreigner who would like to come to Bangkok for such a vaccination, particularly from the Middle East and neighboring countries.
Oh, I see. Thank you so much, Kavi. But one more question about ASEAN. So the health ministers of the ASEAN countries will be the point persons for the use. I mean, to push for this program of access to vaccines, right?
And also the chair, they were discussing. So you should follow whether ASEAN come out with any decision and how much money, because this money come from ASEAN member and also from dialogue partner, 13.5 million. So I would like to see that ASEAN name, you know, and have vaccine for the ASEAN citizen. That would be good for us.
Yes. So Kavi, are you going to queue will you be the first to queue for a vaccine?
I kind of take a wait and see attitude because so far I trust the government that the Thai government can contain and that it effectively take care of those who contact the disease. So I just wait for other that are much need than me, you know, particularly those risky person to take it first. I can wait, I think.
Yeah, so because Thailand is following like what other countries do, the front medical frontliners, the vulnerable, but Indonesia has taken a different strategy.
That's right.
Yeah, for
And
to attend first to its working population. Is what is the what is your response to that? How do you view that difference in strategy in Indonesia?
well, it's different. Indonesia has a young workforce, so I think they have to take care, making sure that the economy is running. In Thailand, we are a gray country. We have a lot of people who live long life, you see. So the government has to bear a lot of burden and take care of them, so they will have the jab first.
And I also read that among the priorities in Thailand are the maritime, those who work in the maritime industry and the travel industry. So I think the tourism is very important now for your economic recovery.
Yes, that's the only things that really bring in foreign revenue. And there's a lot of discussion that Thailand should diversify tourism strategy. That is why vaccine tourism came about. You also have golf tourism, you know, and other things. So these are the new idea.
Yes, on that hopeful note, on potentially going to Thailand for vaccine tourism, and also on the hopeful note of Thailand manufacturing AstraZeneca and exporting it to other countries. We end this interview and we will keep talking and watching the developments in the region on vaccination and how the countries here are containing the virus. Thank you so much, Kavi, and hope to talk to you again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Maria.
Bye.
Thank you.